Now that we're halfway through 2026, there's definitely a lot to talk about, but first, we gotta say that 2026 is honestly a pretty good year, and it's probably going to be getting even better, with so many games that have released, like Rhythm Haven Grew, a fantastic game that we haven't seen in a while. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, a new entry in the Yoshi formula, a game that we originally thought would be kinda bad, but hey, it turned out to be absolutely insane. Tomodachi Life being that game that, well, you like it or you hate it. Pokemon Pokopia, a unique game on the Pokemon formula that allowed you to take Animal Crossing and other games together and call it a day. And we even got Mario Tennis Fever, which was definitely a very interesting game, with a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 editions, and free updates as well. With the recent release of Splatoon Raiders, it definitely is fantastic. Oh boy, Splatoon Raiders is definitely one of the greatest games that I've played all year. Quite literally, it really is a fantastic game, and a game that so happened to be Splatoon 4 originally and turned into this. My goodness, that is absolutely crazy. This is the exact game that I was looking forward to playing, because usually with games, I wasn't sure if I would ever find a game very similar to this again, but it turns out I just did, which is absolutely insane. And now if we were going to look at it, this year is about to get even crazier with more games releasing. If we looked at all of the different games, you'll realize that these games had something in common. At first, no one really cared about them. Everyone thought, well, I guess this is just another remaster or another game, another entry to a series that we don't really care about. But then when they released, they happen to be actually good games. Who cares what the Metacritic score says? If you like the game, that is okay. That is completely fine. That is your opinion. Honestly, this is definitely a fantastic look at it. Then you can even see even more games coming soon, like the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake, the most highly anticipated game if you're part of the Nintendo ecosystem. Also, we're going to be getting a brand new Fire Emblem game, which is absolutely looking fantastic. But leaning into the Ocarina of Time debate, you'll realize that there definitely is a lot to unpack here. Everyone is saying that this game is going to be a one-to-one, but how could it be a one-to-one? In fact, we saw all of this take place this year. Now mind you, besides Star Fox, because Star Fox, Miyamoto says this was to bring balance to the movie and essentially get like everyone to be jumping on board, so obviously that does make sense, don't you think? But with Ocarina of Time, there wasn't really a movie associated to it. I guess you could consider the Legend of Zelda movie in 2027, but this one seems definitely unique to be a one-to-one. In fact, it's probably going to be something completely different. Something that mixes timelines and space differences and mixes it all together and calls it a day. Honestly, that is definitely really fantastic. Now, if we looked at it, we had the hundreds of different third-party games to go on top of the pile. My goodness, if you haven't gotten your Nintendo Switch 2 yet before the price increase, what are you doing? This is a perfect lineup. Although, there is set to be a Legend of Zelda 40th Anniversary Nintendo Switch 2, and if you're in Europe, there's going to be a battery backup later this year. Doesn't that sound all pretty crazy? Now we can expect even more games for the end of the year when December, September, October, whatever the case may be. At first, you'll realize potentially we are going to be getting Luigi's Mansion. That has been a game that was highly speculated, and potentially that definitely does make sense for later this year. Because my goodness, if they did release that on Halloween, so far we don't really have an October game. So that right there would make so much sense for this year, and would probably get a lot of Nintendo fans, or fans in general, to just hop on the train and get themselves a Nintendo Switch 2 or something like that if they're not really interested. They're kind of in the middle. Are we going to be getting this game? Are we going to be getting this game? Overall, it definitely is very interesting. When I look at everything here, I can't wait to play half of these games that are releasing later this year. Not Nintendo Switch 2 editions, I don't really like those, but besides that, these games are definitely looking great. If we looked at it, we are going to be getting a Nintendo Direct in September. That usually happens every single year, and potentially even a Zelda Direct in August. That does make sense. They can reveal the Ocarina of Time extra gameplay. They can reveal the Nintendo the Switch 3, Zelda Switch 2.0, yep, we could call it that. They're going to reveal a controller and stuff like that. Makes sense. And for the September Direct, Luigi's Mansion definitely would be like a big bonus. And potentially even more third-party games could be making their way over. Because after all, Forza is still coming to PlayStation. That's the one. So maybe it's going to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. After all, Microsoft and Nintendo did have a pretty good relation compared to Sony and Microsoft. So I definitely find it interesting that Nintendo would probably, shake hands. There you go. You can try out this game. Overall, we're also going to be getting Call of Duty for the first time ever after like 10 years, which is definitely really crazy in my books. And honestly, we could probably even see something for Kirby's 35th anniversary. Because if you were going to look at it, Kirby's 35th anniversary is next year. And potentially, sometimes this does happen. They release like sort of a teaser or something before the anniversary. And then they release it, a big thing, during the anniversary, if that makes any sense. So I definitely think that this is something that could be happening. Like, this makes the most sense to me personally. So I guess we're gonna have to see what Nintendo decides to do in the wild imagination that is the corporation of Nintendo, don't you think?
And if the large pile wasn't big enough, we could probably even see Pokemon Emerald, because there's way too many Rayquaza things for Nintendo to just sit there and not acknowledge the Rayquazas. So most likely Pokemon Emerald would make a lot of sense, or Delta Emerald.
Overall, all these things aside, definitely make for a fantastic time with Nintendo Switch 2. If you haven't already, consider picking one up. There definitely is a lot of games here. Now, of course, it might not be the biggest things here, but we're off to a pretty good start with Nintendo. You can assume that most of the games releasing are they're either going to look good and play good and that stuff, a game that you've pretty much already seen before, or something that you've never seen before and it's just very unique. Of course, they're not the big things, the things that you really look at, your Marios, your Zeldas, your Pokemon, your Triforce of Nintendo. They're not new, most of the Zelda things, but at least they're there. Honestly, it is fantastic. The 40th anniversary of Zelda is off to a pretty interesting start, but besides that, my golly, the Nintendo Switch 2. Honestly, Splatoon Raiders is a fantastic game. I've been having so much fun with this game. It has so many unique functionalities, like the fact that you're able to essentially play Minecraft Dungeon. That was one of the games that I actually really did enjoy. I really did enjoy that game for some reason. Kind of like also Fortnite Save the World. I originally played that game. That was such a good game. It mixes all those things together and then gives you that Splatoon vibe that you go and collect weapons, you can make your own build, your own custom build. Right now, I've been using a splat roller and a sort of ability that allows you to take a katana and slice through like the pack so then it kind of clears out everything. That is definitely cool, with an ability that allows you to get like 3 seconds back on the cooldown of that ability for taking down enemies. Honestly, it's the greatest thing. So if you haven't tried Splatoon Raiders, I would highly suggest try that out. You're probably going to have a great time. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section down below. Do you think 2026 is definitely a good year for Nintendo or not at all? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Hope you have a fantastic day, by the way.